أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وبه نستعين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل نعم المولى ونعم النصير. Let us begin by sending out our deepest condolences to the time of our Imam, Imam Mahdi Ajalallahu Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif, of his grandfather Aba Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam, and we pray for his early reappearance, inshallah, with the dua, Allahumma ajjal li waliyika al-faraj. أعظم الله أجورنا وأجوركم بمصابنا الحسين عليه السلام وجعلنا وإياكم من الطالبين بثاره مع وليه الإمام المهدي من آل محمد عليهم السلام. Welcome on Youth Matters with me, your host Sakina Mushtaq Habib, and inshallah today we have reached the final episode of our Muharram series. And over the past 6 discussions of our Muharram series, on the timeless personality of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, we covered various aspects and lessons to be learned from Karbala and this great stand from Sayyid al-Shuhada Aba Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam. And today, what I would like to draw your attention to in today's final episode is the role played by the women of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam and Imam Hussein alayhi salam after the tragedy of Karbala, because this is also an extremely important topic and guideline and an inspiration from Karbala. One very important lesson that we learn from Karbala, amongst the many lessons, is that any mission and any struggle cannot achieve success without the contribution and participation of women. Women were at the forefront of Islam's preservation right from the onset. First and foremost, I would like to say special thanks to our esteemed Sheikh Dr. Mehdi Hazari, who has been a part of our daily Muharram series of these past 8 days, and his presence really added with a lot of vast knowledge, wisdom, and beneficial information which were shared with you all. So I would like to thank Sheikh Dr. Hazari once again, and thank you for joining me again, Sheikh. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's been a privilege and indeed an honor to be with you, Sister Sakina, and with Hidayat TV, and I am always here to help in any way possible if anyone needs, inshallah.
I would personally like to thank you for coming on my show at a very short notice, and with all honesty, I'm so impressed with your humble personality and with the intellectual knowledge that you carry of both deen, religion, as well as connecting it to your profession of being a scientist and a neurophysiologist. That's just amazing. So thank you so much for sharing so many viewpoints with us. Thank you. In today's episode, we will be discussing about the leadership strength of Lady Zainab, salamullahi alayha. We would like to know from you, Sheikh, do you think would Karbala have been complete without Lady Zainab, salamullahi alayha?
No, of course not. I think she is the banner of Imam Hussein. She is the legacy that carried her brother's mission forward and kept its voice alive and kept its force moving forward. And I think there's no way in my capacity, at least, to describe what she is and what she did and how she achieved what she achieved. It baffles the mind. It makes you grateful that you follow this amazing household, and that there is an example for us not only in the actions, in the personality and character of Al-Imam al-Hussein, but certainly in the visage, the sort of the embodiment of what we see in Sayyida Zainab alayha salatu wassalam. And this is something that is uniquely beautiful to the Ahl al-Bayt, because we start not only with her, We start with Khadija al-Kubra alayha salatu wassalam. She is a champion of
Yeah.
Islam in the early days.
Yeah.
Imagine, next to Rasulullah, Sayyida Khadija gave everything. Next to Rasulullah and Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib, Fatima al-Zahra is standing right there. And next to Imam Hussein and Imam Hassan even, Sayyida Zainab standing right there next to both of her brothers. And we see this same legacy go forward. Lady Fatima al-Mahsuma, we know. We
Yeah.
know even in the time of Imam al-Hadi and Imam al-Askari alayhim as-salam, that the aunt had taken over the role of supervising and guiding until the proper sort of the announcement was made and the people knew who was the next successor. So this is a tradition in the
Yeah.
Ahl al-Bayt. The women
Yes.
are not disregarded as insignificant and having a minor role. No, their role is crucial, critical, and absolutely it is a message to us that in our lives we must be working together, men and women. Ta'awun has to be there. Why? Because each will bring some original, some unique strength, some capability that will better society for us.
Very true. The way you mentioned it very clearly, that the ta'awun is very important, because when we unite together, we can really bring out miracles of success and all of that. Thank you. If we were to understand Karbala, we would realize that Lady Zainab salamullahi alayha played a very crucial role in delivering the message of Islam and the events of Karbala. And not only that, but in preserving the imamate of that time. So, if you could enlighten us furthermore on that, Sheikh.
Yes, so you see, just even in her accompanying her brother from Medina to Mecca, from Mecca to Iraq, and what transpired around them, the fact that she was with him and supporting him in this mission. It could have been very easily said that this is a journey that is not meant for a woman, that she should just stay at home, and that this is something that must be, it is political, it is has to do with people who may potentially have a conflict with each other on a battlefield, so woman has no place to be in there. Yet, it is
Mm,
absolutely to the contrary of that. It is absolutely to the
yeah,
contrary of that, that she is the one who stood there and accompanied him at every step. And I think there is something to be understood about that. That why did she go with him from Medina to Mecca, Mecca all the way at the various stops through Tan'im, through Zarrud, through Tha'labiyya, Khuzaymiyya, all the way up and towards Karbala, towards At-Taf. Why at every
yeah,
step is she there by himself, by his side? Why did she just not stay in Medina? Let him go to Mecca in Rajab, spend the month of Sha'ban, the months of Ramadan, Shawwal, all the way up. And then later on, he would have called her to come and say, come with me later on. Why accompany him at every single step? Because the fate of these two individuals, Al Hussein and Sayyida Zainab alayhim as-salam, is intertwined and shows how necessary it was that as soon as Al Imam Al Hussein was martyred, the role of Zainab now comes to the forefront. And I think that's what we
right.
have to realize, is that how she stood as a beacon of strength so that no one will crumble around her. And in particular, you all know this, I'm not telling you something you don't know, that when it came time to defend the living Imam after Al Hussein alayhi salam, who is the one who stood? It was not a man. It was not one of the tribal chiefs. It was not an uncle. It was not a brother. It was the sister of Al Hussein, the aunt of Zain al Abidin alayhi salam, who now stepped up. What an amazing message to say that if you need a defender, a woman can be that defender. If you need a leader, a woman can be that leader. If you need a voice, a woman can be that voice. But not just any woman, a woman who embodies the qualities of Zainab bint Ali alayhim as-salam.
Indeed, in the period before Ashura, this dedication of Lady Zainab salamullahi alaiha is most remarkable. Lady Zainab salamullahi alaiha is we know that she was even a married woman with responsibilities, as a wife and also a mother of a household of her own. And her husband was a very prominent person. They were very well to do economically. However, for the sake of this mission of her brother Imam Hussein alayhi salam, she abandoned her home, her husband, and everything to join Imam Hussein alayhi salam. And this is particularly important to note in the context of that particular society of Jahiliyyah, ignorance at that time, where a woman had no independent role. So all that a woman would do is follow in the shadow of her husband. There was no independent function or purpose for women in that society of Jahiliyyah. That being said, over here we find that Lady Zainab Salamullahi alaiha has a clear role, and therefore she goes ahead even though her husband stayed behind. She does not only accompany the army of her brother Imam Hussein alayhi salam, but plays a very crucial role in Karbala, being at the forefront of all the consultations with Imam Hussein alayhi salam. When we read in his story, when we read the story about Imam Hussein, he shares with her and listens to her at different stages of his journey from Medina to Mecca to Karbala, and the conversations which are recorded between Imam Hussein alayhi salam and Sayyidah Zainab salamullahi alayha in the last few days of his life is truly mind-blowing, where he provides guidance on the challenges that she will face. And he advises her to stay focused and persevere, through the tests and the difficulties that she will be experiencing after his martyrdom. So the key theme emerging from these discussions is that Imam Hussein alayhi salam was actually preparing her for the future of his revolutionary struggle and movement, which is so beautiful. And many scholars and many people in general ask this question, that why was it so important and necessary for Imam Hussein alayhi salam to bring his children and family to Karbala? This is an evergreen question which Imam Hussein alayhi salam was asked at the time, and still gets asked 14 centuries later as well. Can you let us know, Sheikh, what would be the answer to this?
Yes, so there are many ways of explaining this, and the ulama who have examined this from many different angles have proposed so many different reasons why Imam al-Hussein took everybody with him and didn't leave them behind. And the most simple answer is that he, in his wisdom, God-given wisdom, knew that their fate was tied to his at every step, and that where he was going, they were meant to go. Now, from a practical reason, if you think about it, if he had left them behind in Medina, they would then be away from his care and his supervision and his protection more than anything else. So if he had left them in Medina and traveled to Mecca and then from there to Iraq, leaving them behind, they would be exposed. Now, he couldn't
Right.
leave Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas and the other men back in Medina with them. Then he would be traveling alone, and he would be exposed himself traveling alone. So if he took his
Yeah.
brothers with him, his nephews with him to support him, then he would have to take his women with him, because then they would be left unprotected in Medina without the sort of security of the male members over the family. So from a practical perspective, it made sense that all of them traveled together, the children, the women, and that they would not be a source by which the enemy could then put pressure on them. That, yeah, Hussein, if you do not come back and capitulate, we will then be forced to do this to your women or to your children. And there is no way to
Right.
say what would have happened, but we know that this regime was despotic and evil enough that they would not stop at anything. We know from the events of Karbala that they would not have stopped at anything. And so that's why you see this. Now, from another perspective, not a practical perspective, you see that maybe by this, what happened, the difficulties that came upon the Al of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam, the children, the women, it opened the eyes of the Muslim nation, hopefully many of the Muslim nation, and even today, that this regime that was sitting there in Damascus, this family, the Banu Umayyah, had absolutely zero morality, zero desire for justice and equity, and absolutely no interest in following the code of religion. Why? Because not only did they kill the grandson of the Prophet, but they also had no code of ethic by which they then at least protected the daughters of Rasulullah, treated them with honor. No, in fact, they demonstrated clearly to the whole world, to all Muslims, that they were so despotic that they even took the women and children as prisoner and mistreated them. And that's why the people began to ask questions, that how is it that we can follow a man like this who imprisons women, tortures children, ties them with ropes and chains around their necks, and parades them through the streets, takes them on perilous journeys just to make a point of his leadership and his control over the ummah. It was a beautiful example, but the price of which was paid by Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. The price was paid by Lady Zainab and the children and Sukaina and Ruqayya and all of those who were there. Why? So that today we can recognize what it means to uphold the lofty values of Islam.
Very true. The legacy of women is truly an enduring feature of Karbala. How can women of today connect and carry on with this legacy, also in order to excel as a woman and in general in life and in the hereafter? What are some of the key points one can or should adhere to?
So I think the answer to this question should come from a woman. A woman is someone who should instruct another woman how to follow the example of Sayyida Zainab and the ladies who were so strong and prominent in Karbala and defended the religion and kept the voice of Imam Hussein alive. What I can say is from the perspective of a human being, that is that your value, and we mentioned this previously, your value and what you can contribute is not determined by any human being. Women today, any human being today, is not determined by who they're related to. Their value and what they can give, the positivity, the advancement, the support, the help that they can provide to other people and to society is not because they are the wife of somebody or the daughter of somebody or the husband of somebody or the son of someone. It is because they, as a human being, an individual, possess a capacity, a mind, an ability, an enthusiasm inside of themselves by which they want to exact change. That goes for everyone. Our women and our men are the same in this respect. They have the same capacity to go out and exact change. And in fact, there are studies that have demonstrated that when men are leaders of communities, men are leaders, what do you see? Unfortunately, you see conflict, you see waste of resources, and you see disenfranchisement of many vast groups of people. Whereas if women are leaders, women come in to oversee the use of resources and how things are planned, that you save resources, that conflicts are decreased, that there is more peace, and those who have been marginalized, orphans, widows, the poor, the destitute, they are actually taken care of. Why? And that's not to say that we should choose a woman leader over a man leader every time. No, that's again not the
Right.
statement here. It is to understand that each can contribute, each has value, and that value is determined by Allah. It's not determined by society, by mankind, by a husband, by a relationship. It is what we can give. As long as it is in conformity with Allah's religion, then it is positivity and it should be used. And no one should feel that I can't give something, I can't contribute. No, go out and contribute. You can always find something valuable that you will be able to give. And you will see that if you step forward, people will follow your example and you will become a role model as well.
Inshallah, I mean, thank you so much, Sheikh. And I would just like to add another information over here, connecting to the legacy of women in Karbala. So we see a lot of examples of women who were present in Karbala. Some of them being ladies like Tu'a in Kufa, who provided shelter to Muslim ibn Aqil. And then we see Dhulham, the wife of Zuhair bin Qayn, who encouraged him to change his political position and join Imam Hussein alayhi salam. And then we also remember the wife of Habib ibn al-Madahir, when the letter from Imam Hussein alayhi salam was received by them in Kufa, it was clear that Habib was going to join Imam Hussein alayhi salam, but he just wanted to test the waters with his wife. And she reacted very strongly to this, questioning why he is confused if the son of the daughter of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is calling. And so that's why we see that she encouraged him to go without thinking any longer. And then who can forget the mother who brought her newlywed son and his wife to Karbala? So we see that how steadfast her commitment was, that she stood outside her tent and encouraged her son to die by saying that she will not give her consent until he returns, having been killed for Imam Hussein alayhi salam. And this mother, in the riwayas, in the history, we find that she was the only female martyr in Karbala because she resisted so fiercely, and hence they killed her. So these are the examples of women outside the house of our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They are not from the Ahlul Bayt alayhim wasalam, I would say, according to the riwayas and all, but their commitment is truly remarkable. And these women in Karbala were very few in number, as most of the women who were present in Karbala were from the Ahlul Bayt alayhim wasalam, whom Imam Hussein alayhi salam brought along from Medina. But I just wanted to share all these examples with the viewers as well out there, so they can take inspiration from these ladies present in Karbala. As for our last message today, Sheikh, would you like to share a final message with the audience today? And then we can bid you a farewell.
Sure. Yes. So, for the youth in particular, but for anybody, you have been given an opportunity. Allah has honored you by creating you and by making you a Muslim and a follower, particularly on the path of Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. And so take that opportunity and never, I think the great thing for us, Sister Sakina, is we should never disregard the opportunity and, but more importantly, the capability that Allah has put inside of us. Our minds, our physical bodies, our emotions, they are a tool and they are a power, they are a force inside of us that we have to use, and we need the courage to be able to use it. So we must, as individuals, step forward, take on tasks, be ready to work. We have to work at every circumstance and just keep trying and plugging away and trying. And in the same way, encourage others. Give people opportunity to also feel empowered, to also feel like they can contribute and make this world a better place by living like true Muslims, by sharing the beauty that is inside of them, the blessing that is inside of them. The minute we all realize this, the world will become a much better place.
Thank you. Jazakallahu khairan. That was a very beautiful message, a very beautiful tip that we can take a lot of lessons from. I would like to thank you once again, Sheikh, for joining me on Youth Matters for these past 8 days. May Allah bless you abundantly, and may Allah increase in your tawfiqat. Inshallah, Ameen. We pray for you and your family, inshallah. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure and an honor.
Thank you, viewers, for being a part of these Muharram series in these last 9 days. And I hope that all of you benefited from all these sessions and these episodes. And please do let us know how you found these series. If you could let us know in the feedback or in the comment section. And do let us know what other topics can we bring to you so we can discuss on it related to youths and everything in general. Thank you for joining me, your host Sakina Mushtaq Habib, and inshallah we'll be catching you up in the next programs, inshallah. Please remember me and my family in your du'as, and I shall do the same. Thank you. Jazakumullahu khairan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.